Hi, YouTube family. This is Antoinette Lloyd here. I just finished a video thanking my subscribers, and as I mentioned in that video, that I was going to do a video about South Africa. So this is the video. I'm going to talk about what I like about South Africa and what I don't like about South Africa. I have some notes here, and if you saw the other video, you see that I did a little better with the lighting here. I'm learning. One of my subscribers and my friends just told me, he gave me some advice on some lighting. So I see this looks better. And again, as time goes by, I'll improve on that. But okay. So what I like about South Africa, number one, is being around people who look like me. It's was very touching for me when I got off the airplane in Johannesburg, and I was in an airport with the majority of people that were people of color, and just from a woman who has been born and raised in the United States and being the minority for the majority of my life, and now being in Florida, Southwest Florida, which is an area that's very conservative. And, I can feel the tension when I'm out and about in the public with the majority Caucasian people. I'm not racist. I'm not against people based on their color. This is more really of a reactionary situation, which I think is the majority of the cases in the United States with Black Americans who are not assertively against people, Caucasians particularly, but we are more on a defensive rather than on the offensive, meaning that we have to protect ourselves all the time. We have to look out. We are oppressed and we have to deal with it. And people talk about race all the time in the United States. You can't see the news without them mentioning black and white all the time. And we get the short end of the stick. So to be in a country where I'm the majority, where I see people of all races, there's all sorts of cultures in South Africa, from different countries in Africa and different countries outside of Africa. It's warming to not really feel isolated or rejected or not liked just based on the color of my skin, you know. So I feel like I fit in better there than in the United States for that reason. Um, the skin color issue, the hair as well. If I wear a head covering, a head wrap, it's not looked upon as strange in Africa. But if I'm in the United States, depending on what area, or if I have dreadlocks or braids, or there's a lot of issues that we've had to deal with, black women in the society here in the United States because of our hair, just not being accepted, whereas, I can feel like I'm free to do whatever I want to do in Africa. And what I also like about South Africa is that it is mainly English speaking. So I'm able to get around just as well in South Africa as I can in the United States without knowing another language. And I learned a few Swahili words, and when I was in Rwanda, I learned some words there. But I would learn more if I lived there, of course. But to be able to navigate the country, do business, do social events, and not have to worry about a language barrier. In Rwanda, I really liked Rwanda a lot, and I'll do a video on that too. But there was a language barrier. The a lot of people still didn't speak fluent English, and no no shame on them, no blaming them. It's just me and a lot of Americans who just don't know any language other than English really to speak of. I know a little patois though. All right. So the other thing, so the being accepted with my skin color and my hair, also the weather there in South Africa is really nice. I particularly like the Durban area because it's a lot like Florida. The weather is like in the 70s, 80s, I believe the majority of time, all year round. It is on the coastline, the Indian Ocean, so you have not only the Florida type weather, but you also have beaches there. And then in everybody knows, well, not everybody, but South Africa is also known for having a lot of nature, you know, the animals, the hillside, the mountains, and the beaches. So there's a lot of natural beauty in the country. Um, there's some jacaranda trees, if I'm saying it correctly, that are really pretty purple trees that are there that I really liked a lot. I saw in Johannesburg. But it's just a beautiful country. I went to the wineries out in near the Cape, and they were really, really pretty. Okay, so those two. The next thing I really like is the low cost of living. It is remarkable what you can get value-wise in South Africa. Um, when I went shopping, for instance, an avocado I can get for 50 cents in the store, in the grocery store. If you get it outside, you may be, you know, in the market, you probably can get it even less. But in the actual grocery stores, it's not unusual for me to get a avocado for 50 cents. If I get a bulk of them, I could probably get it for less than 50 cents per avocado. In America, the avocados where I live cost, a, if I can get it for $1, I'm lucky. $2 or $1.50 is probably more the average cost for avocado. So you're getting half the price for food. I also found that the rent and the price of homes and the price for transportation and the price for services were all less than 50% of what you would pay in the United States for the same thing. I took Ubers to get to places sometimes. The the average amount I paid for an Uber ride was between $2 and $10. I've never, ever, ever paid $2 for an Uber ride in the United States. That's like impossible. Um, and then, you know, the most I've ever paid is probably maybe $12, if that, $11, $12 for Uber ride in South Africa. Um, that's remarkable to me. And the rent was also really good. I stayed in Stanton, which is a expensive area, the richest area in Africa, they say. But, you know, it's definitely a rich, nice area in Johannesburg. And I stayed in a building that was like a condo hotel. I was in the studio apartment. It was furnished. It had a TV with Wi-Fi. It had a kitchen. It had cleaning. I got it twice a week, I think. But in general, I think it's once a week. The electricity is included. The water is included. Um, let's see what else. Oh, it was located close to the banks and, you know, the mall and everything, so I could walk without taking transportation. I could walk to the Mandela Square Mall where I could shop for food and clothes and everything else. The banks and the gym were all walking distance, so it was really nice. It was a secure area. The building had security, so there was, security men there. Was there a gate? I don't know. It was not a gate to get in the building, but there were guards there that you couldn't just enter the building, or you couldn't just drive in. You had to pass through the guard and get, the security was pretty tight. So all of that, the furnished studio with the Wi-Fi, electricity, water, servicing once a week, costs, get this, $800 per month. That didn't include a lease. That was month to month. I think I rented it for like 6 weeks. Yeah. But the if you get a lease, like a 6 month lease, you could usually get even a better deal. And then the one bedroom, I know someone who had a lease for 6 months with a one bedroom, and they were paying around 700, I think, a month for the one bedroom apartment. So, and that's in a really nice area. So, for people who like live in the United States that live in New York, oh my gosh, it's so much of a savings to live in South Africa. I live in Florida, so I don't have to deal with the snow and all of that. But if I was in New York, I'd be running to South Africa. Just saying. All right. The other thing I liked about South Africa is that there is a growing community there of African Americans that are supporting one another. So, you can go there and connect with people, like-minded people who want to get away from America for various reasons, like I've already discussed, and other reasons. Um, and have a supportive group of people there that you can communicate with. I communicate with them in a chat group, and if you want to find a place to for a doctor or a hair salon or nail salon, or for a certain food you're looking for, whatever, they're a resource that even the legal things you might have to go through, visa issues or whatever. There's so much information that's being shared amongst the people from America who are going there to relocate or to scout out or just to vacation. It's really nice to have a community of people that you can relate to. I've also communicated with South Africans there as well, native South Africans, and have had a good rapport with them as well. And I also met people from other countries, from Nigeria, from Zimbabwe. It's multicultural there, so it's really nice. But the support of the African Americans there, as a person who's African American, when I go there, I feel like at least I have a community I'm going into. I'm not just going there and be by myself. There is support there. They're trying to do better with that as well. I remember making mention in the chat group that I hadn't met too many during the time I was there, and I put that in because I was remorseful that I hadn't met them, and I put a heartfelt message in the chat group, and they responded, and within a couple of months after that, I think, all the women, they had a women get together, which was really nice. I missed it because I was already gone, but hopefully that camaraderie is continuing, and I'll get the opportunity to participate when I go there next time. Um, you know, but it's really comforting to know that there are people that I can connect with, even if it's just on a chat group, that will provide information to me, and that are supportive of one another. They get together there's a South African group, African American group that gets together every, they call themselves African Americans in South Africa, and they get together, I think maybe 3 times a year or so for dinner, and just to get together. And then there's probably other things, activities they do. Like I remember seeing something about hiking that they did together, playing games, something around the time of Thanksgiving and things like that. So you don't have to be alone when you go there. The next thing is I like that we're safer there, in general. You know, people talk about crime in South Africa, but crime is everywhere. But what I mean by safer, what makes me feel safe there is that the police, when they stop you for whatever reason, if that is the case, that you don't have to worry about being killed because of the color of your skin in South Africa or in Africa in general. Whereas in America, that's a thing. It's a real thing where, you know, if you get stopped by the cops as a black American or black person, you know, it's not, you know, you could be like George Floyd. You be killed innocently. You could be innocent, you could be harmless and still get killed. It's a real thing that happens in America. So that's a big thing for me, is to know that it's a safer place in that regard. Now, the things I don't like about South Africa. Number one is the load shedding. Load shedding is, you know, South Africa has a bad reputation because of load shedding. It's something that, well, what load shedding is that the government controls the amount of electricity that's being accessible to the public. They have a rolling blackout system. So your electricity will go out at a scheduled time unless you have a generator or some other backup system, which, of course, in the wealthier areas, that's available. But in the poorer areas, it's not uncommon for the lights and all the electricity to go out a couple times a day, you know, or at least once a day, and sometimes several times a day. It's so unfortunate to see people have to be without electricity. And can you imagine your refrigerator's going out? You know, there's no lights, there's no TV, there's no, you know, there's just no electricity. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine not having electricity or having electricity go out on me on a regular basis. But it's so common there that it doesn't, people work around it. You know, they know it's going to happen and they work around it, but it shouldn't happen, which leads to the other problem there, is that people are saying that this is part of the corruption, why this is still going on. Because I would think that something like electricity is something they should have been able to manage. You know, it's over 10 years that this has been going on, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse. You know, it's a doable problem, you would think. I mean, why would they not be able to handle such a situation unless there's some corruption? Whereas, you know, maybe somebody's making some money in the alternative power situation, whether it's generators or solar panels or something else, and they're suppressing the amount of electricity that's available to the public. That's just my idea. I don't know for sure, but you know, even though I could live in an area where load shedding would not be a problem for me, you know, you just need to know where to look and keep that in mind when you're figuring out what apartment or house you're going to get, to make sure that you have some backup system for yourself. But, you know, it's unfortunate to see the poverty. That's another thing that I don't like about South Africa, is that there's a big disparity amongst the economic disparity. There's the wealthy, for instance, in Sandton, in Johannesburg, and very close to that community is another community that's very, very, very poor. They call it, they used to call it shanty areas. I don't know if that's the proper name for it now, but it's a very crowded, poor area, with houses that are don't have indoor electricity wiring. They don't have indoor plumbing at a lot of these homes. They have to go outside and pump to get water and then take it indoors, to do what they need to do with the water. And some people are used to living like that. It's a very crowded area. A lot of them don't have jobs. They can't get jobs. And so that leads to crime, and that leads to social tensions. And that is unfortunate. I don't like to see people suffer. I don't like to see injustice. I don't like to see unfairness. It seems like it's not fair that people have to live like that when there are people with so much money that's so close by. Why can't we just spread the wealth? That's what, and let everybody be comfortable. But, we have issues in the United States like that too. But I'm just sad to see so many people in Alexandria living in poverty. So that is something I don't like. And I would like to see that the unemployment rate improves. I don't know if I heard it was 25% unemployment. I'm not sure, but it was bad, and it was getting worse is the last I had heard. Hopefully it's getting better, but I don't know. So that's completes my list of what I like about South Africa and what I don't like. The good outweighs the bad to me. They talk about crime there. I don't feel that the crime is a problem for me. I lived in New York City. I lived in the Bronx. So I've been around areas of crime, and like anywhere in the world, you should be careful wherever you go. And there are ways to protect yourself. There's ways to try to avoid areas where there's crime. And that's what I do wherever I go. I don't think that there's any more crime there as a country. There's, of course, pockets of area where you would not want to go, but that's the same case in the United States. There's crime in major cities, whether it's Los Angeles, Miami, Washington, D.C., New York. Crime in a lot of these cities, but within the city, there's areas where there's less crime, and then you take precautions to avoid crime. You never know what might happen anywhere you go, but I don't think that there's more crime there than the United States, from my knowledge. So if it wasn't for my family that live in the United States, I would make more of an effort to move to South Africa. Not to say I'm not going to at all, but South Africa has a lot to offer. Hopefully, for those people who are in America that may be a bit more able to move than me and didn't know the advantages of South Africa. There's some people who are looking to get out of this country with the political climate going on in the United States right now. And I'm talking, we're in 2024, in July, and the presidential election is in November of 2024. And a lot of people are very concerned about what the outcome of this election might be. So for those of you who might want to get out of the country, people are thinking of Mexico, people are thinking of Canada, Europe, I'm not, the Caribbean, of course. But a lot of people don't consider Africa because of the negative propaganda that's been out there about Africa. Africa is a continent. It's not a country. So there are different countries in Africa that have different cultures as well. And South Africa, if you're used to America, South Africa is not that different as far as the infrastructure, what we're used to, with the air conditioning and English and housing and, a lot of it is, now you have to drive on a different side of the street, if I remember correctly on that. That might not be easy for everybody, but, younger people can learn. But there's a lot of things that it's just easier to, as a transition country, if you were interested in living in Africa. But, there's a lot to offer there. I have found that when I looked into going to the Caribbean, I found that I could live better in South Africa for less money than I could in the Caribbean. And then, Mexico, unless you are fluent in Spanish, you're going to maybe have some issues there as well. I have also thought about, Panama, but I haven't made it there yet. But there's a lot of different countries to live in the world if you don't want to live in the United States. And sometimes you're better off from a standard of living, your whole well-being. Your money can go further over there. You can help others and help yourself and feel comfortable, more comfortable day to day in your own skin. So thank you so much for listening to my talking today. And love, joy, and peace to you. Bye.